The world has never been more connected. But whilst we send almost 300 billion emails a day, millions of voices go unheard in parts of the world that are not yet online. But mobile phones have become a global phenomenon, connecting even the most rural regions and the most marginalised groups.
And we participated because we believe in tradition, that a woman has no voice. You don't talk when men are talking. But since the revelation of these modern technologies, of course, we've now changed this perception. And now women are given more priority to say what they want to say, and we have been listened to, and we participated fully in society.
Radar has developed a project to harness mobile as a reporting tool, training people in places with very few resources to source and share credible news via SMS.
The project is one of its kind. It's very much unique. Even when we discuss the idea with people who are not part of Radar, they always welcome the idea. For an hour and here, you pay something like $1 to use the internet. But with my mobile phone, with my 50 unit, I can use that to maybe send text to Radar more than 10 or 15, which I think is more economical.
For those with communication barriers, like David Agogo, SMS has opened up a new channel for sharing news.
In summary, I want to say that SMS is everything because communicating is very easy using it, and the message is passed very easily. Actually, we as the deaf people, that is what we use to communicate as deaf people.
Radar acts as a central hub, sharing these messages online via Twitter and mainstream news sites, linking reporters with editors and audiences worldwide. Over the past year, Radar has trained over 250 mobile citizen reporters across Sierra Leone, Kenya, India and the UK. They have sent more than 2,000 SMS news alerts from their communities, and the media they have produced has been seen by over 2 million people. But can voices from the margins really make a difference? Suray Bangura is one of Radar's Freetown reporters. Days before the Sierra Leone national elections, he sent a text flagging the issue of missing ballot papers for blind and visually impaired voters. Radar was able to tweet the message, which was picked up by the EU Election Observation Team and written into their official report. He was also commissioned to write an article by The Guardian.
I think it's really wise enough that we have Africans writing their own stories, telling the world of what is happening in their own country, in their own context, and in their own perspective.
Suray and his team produced 16 hours of live mobile coverage of the Sierra Leone elections, reporting via SMS from polling stations, the streets and the slums. Their work was featured by the BBC World Service and Al Jazeera, along with national news outlets. Using SMS as a reporting tool has enabled women and girls to raise their voices above the confines of tradition, caste and cultural prejudice.
Women have a connection with the grassroots. Women and girls living with HIV are very vulnerable, and they have so many needs that have not been addressed. They have so many things they cry about quietly that needs to come out in the open. And there are so many untold stories that we need to tell. There are so many things that are happening that can inform policy, things that are happening that can bring change. And if they go unreported, again, they may not be effective. So we think we are here. Our being here is very key because we are going to be able to bring out those issues that were hidden in the community.
In India, Radar has partnered with the Guardian Foundation, working closely with the Dalit community to amplify the stories of those formerly known as the untouchable caste.
First of all, what is Dalit? It's broken people. They are living people, human beings, considered as lesser human beings, considered as even lesser than animals. Their stories are neglected, their stories are suppressed, their stories are unheard and unseen.
One of the most urgent stories is the rise in acid attacks on Dalit women and girls. In March, Varshna travelled with Radar to Google's Activate India Media Summit to present the story of one survivor, 18-year-old Chanchal Paswan.
Chanchal, being a very young, intelligent, talented girl, wanted to do all those things which a girl wants to do in her, in her age of 18 years. 4 non-Dalit men, they were eve-teasing with her and sexual harassment with her, demanding for sexual favors from Chanchal. And she said she denied it, she opposed it and protested it. And they threatened her first, and then they entered her house forcefully, and they got hold of her, all those 4 non-Dalit men. And they felt that how can a Dalit girl deny their, demands? It's not bearable for them at all. So they came in her house, they poured acid on her. Her face is completely destroyed, her chest and her back, everything. For Chanchal, it's like her dreams are shattered.
This summer, Radar launched a crowdfunding campaign to build a new web platform to manage sensitive incoming reports around gender, corruption and slavery. We still have a way to go, but the funds we have raised will allow more stories like this to be managed without jeopardising the safety of reporters.
I belong to that community which is facing discrimination and violence. So it's my story in a way. It's the story of all those women who are facing violence.
Recently, Radar has started to seed reporter networks closer to home, partnering with the Kids Company, Unlimited and social inclusion groups across the UK.
We've got kids without beds, without food, without underwear, without access to school in England as one of the richest countries, and that's not really okay, and people don't know about that. We can't make educated decisions on things if we don't know what's going on. And then there's all these undocumented people. Kids Company gives meals to like 1 million self-referred, under 16s a week, most of whom aren't in education, aren't on the books because they've fled something and don't have documents, which is completely unheard of.
Over the past year, Radar has worked closely with Leonard Cheshire Disability and their campaign network, Young Voices. 24-year-old Young Voices campaigner Mohamed Kamara is determined to become Sierra Leone's first slum-based mobile journalist.
As a journalist here, residing here and knowing some of the conditions that are going on, I believe I'm an eyewitness to the stories that will be happening. People have been living out there and don't know some of the life people live in this slums area. As a journalist, I'll be ready to portray some of these things, and I've been trained very well to tackle issues that are really of interest to people. People were contaminated and people get affected a lot in this area. Children died of it, even the elderly people died of the cholera in this area. I believe as Radar has trained me actually, I believe I'll bring a change in this community and in slums areas in the country. I am trying to portray these things out, at least for them, for these things at least to be solved, for these problems to be solved. As you know, there are people living here and they need support. If these things could be made for them, I believe some of this disease we are fighting will be reduced, and the cost of coming with health centers or making treatment, announcing for people to wash their hands. You can wash your hands, but when you're living in some of these communities, you wash your hands, but you get contaminated again because the disease is living with people.
If it's going to be a violence-free election, how will you feel?
Patrick Lahai was one of Radar's first trainees and today is one of the most active reporters.
Yeah, I am an amputee, a double amputee, and I was amputated during the war. I didn't imagine that I would be a journalist when I was amputated, really. Only now that I came to realize that, I'm now a citizen journalist for Radar.
Over the past year, he has contributed to the BBC, the New Internationalist magazine, and has been featured as a reporter on South Korean TV. With the income he has earned, he has bought a touchscreen phone that allows him to report more easily.
I'm so proud, really, I'm so proud of doing this on my own. as a disabled, as a double amputee. I'm so proud.
1 year on, Radar's high-impact, low-tech model is helping to bridge the digital divide and ensure neglected news is noticed. Your support has made this possible.
I just want to assure whosoever that is giving their own resources, their own contribution in order to ensure that the Radar project exists, that they are not just doing it just for a single person, but they are doing it for people who are voiceless.
Had it been the Radar family, I would have been, left in the doom because I was not exposed. But the little training Radar is giving us as disabled persons, I think is helping to build up our capacities. In my dreams and in my own personal archives, Radar will be at the top because they have done a lot of training with us. They have really given us the knowledge, empowered us so that we can talk. We are proud of Radar because they are giving us, giving us the talents on how, to meet others, to communicate, to interact, to associate, to build up friends, and to make contact in and out of our own nation.
करने वाला सीना जोर बनता जाएगा आओ मिलकर हम बड़े अधिकारी अपने छीन लें हरिओम